Channel 2S is brought to you by New Type HQ. Get your kits and supplies at the link in the description below. Welcome back, everybody. We got a little, not a super long episode of Gunpla news tonight, a few new kits to talk about, and honestly, I'm just happy that I have multiple kits to talk about in a Gunpla news episode less than a week after a major event like this. It really does feel like we're back in 2019, early 2020, when we actually would get new reveals on an almost weekly basis instead of a big event where they show off 5 kits and then absolutely nothing for the next 6 months. We're starting off tonight with a couple kits that I actually did talk about in the last episode of Gunpla News. However, I wanted to talk about these guys again because while before it was kind of tentative that these were maybe going to be retail releases, I am feeling very, very confident now that these are going to be coming out at retail. I did look around a little bit and I'm still not 100,000% sure they're going to be retail, but I am feeling pretty darn confident that they are. And well, let's just say I'm going to be very disappointed if they aren't, because I really do want to get my hands on this GM. So I'm not going to talk too much about the actual kits themselves, because we already kind of went over those on the last episode of Gunpla News. I just wanted to bring them up again to remind you guys that, well, sometimes it does seem like Bandai does nothing but P-Bandai kits. Every once in a while, they really do put out some cool stuff at retail. That's enough about these two, though. They're cool models. I'm definitely looking forward to both of these. I'm probably going to end up buying and building both of them, but what we're really here today for is the new kits. And the new kit that was quite surprisingly announced after the All Japan Hobby Show was another Origin Dones Island kit. Or I should just say Dones Island, because the branding here pretty clearly doesn't say the Origin. But this is you know what? For the sake of convenience, I'm going to be calling these Origin style kits anyways, because they're using so much tooling from the Origin line. It's basically an Origin Guncannon. That's what this is. There's like a 99.9% chance that this is going to be another retail model. This was a really cool surprise. They kind of just dropped it out of nowhere. Clearly, as you can tell by the display setup, this was at the All Japan Hobby Show, but I think what they did is they kind of added this on one of the later days of the event after everything else was already out, so a lot of people didn't really catch it. I think it's a cool looking kit though. I'm not sure how super necessary it was, because the revived Guncannon is already a pretty cool kit, but hey, it's another Guncannon and it's an Origin kit, so I am always welcoming of new Origin models. In case you couldn't tell by its appearance, this is in fact based off of the Origin Guncannon mold. So this is the same mold as that test type Guncannon that we got before, only in the standard Guncannon colors with the standard Guncannon guns. This is a completely different mold from the previous revived Guncannon. Every little piece, if you look at it individually, is going to be different, but as far as the overall general design goes, outside of the shoulder cannons, which are a little bit different with how high these flanges come up around them, at a glance, I would not immediately be able to tell the difference between this and the Revive. And with the Revive kit being as good as it is, quite frankly, I'm not sure this one was really all that necessary. So new head, they doubled up the cannons, and the hands obviously. Aside from that, it seems like a very minor retool of the Iron Cavalry gun cannon. If you look at the top of the back of the cannon here, it's more rounded on the Iron Cavalry one, and then they flattened out the top on the Dones Island gun cannon, so I think those are new cannon molds. And that's basically the retail Origin kits that we got for tonight. Now we are going to be moving on to a little bit of P-Bandai stuff, starting with a new announcement, which is a black version of the Woundwort. This is apparently a redesign from Advance of Zeta Reboot. It's a very cool color scheme. For me, it's kind of interesting to see Advance of Zeta mobile suits in actual black instead of dark blue, because I'm so used to seeing these in Titan blue that when you see them in actual proper black like this, there's just something so cool about it. I feel like the design isn't edgy enough to merit this color scheme. It's very elegant and graceful, and then it has this really dark, aggressive, black and purple color scheme. And the black really highlights how kind of purplish the gray that they use for the inner frame is. It's basically just a V-fin retool. I heard some people calling this like the Psycho Blade Woundwort or something when it was first announced, so I thought maybe it would have some cool new weapons, but it's literally just a black Woundwort. Now, to be fair, the high-grade Woundwort is a pretty cool kit. Engineering and design-wise, it does leave some to be desired. It's one of those P-Bandai kits where they kind of skimped out on the quality of it so they could make it work as a new mold P-Bandai release, but the design is so cool that it kind of makes up for it. And you do get the option to build it with the normal style head if the fancy new V-fin isn't really your thing. To be honest, outside of the actual high-grade kit, I would say this look for the V-fin is almost a little bit more iconic to me. I feel like I've seen the Woundwort more, like in artwork and stuff, not counting the models. I think I've seen the Woundwort more with this style V-fin than with the standard one, so I think it's kind of cool. So a kind of cool thing that they give you as an extra accessory is you get some joint adapters that allow you to take the Advance of Zeta Barzam limbs and you can put them on the Woundwort to make one of the many trillions of different mix and match variants from Advance of Zeta. So that's coming out. It's going to be P-Bandai. Pre-orders for this in the US are probably going to go up in a bit. As always, I am going to notify you guys whenever I hear that the pre-orders are going live. Unfortunately, that may or may not only be a half hour or so before they actually do, because nowadays Bandai really likes to make sure that people have no idea when their new pre-orders are going live, which makes it really frustrating. Funny thing about this is it actually kind of got leaked through pre-orders before the actual model kit got shown off. So we knew this was going to be coming a day or two before they actually officially announced it. Now, the next P-Bandai kit we're going to be looking at is one that we've actually talked about before in the last episode of Gunpla News. However, we have a lot more pictures of it now, and we've seen some accessories that we didn't know it had before, so I thought it would be a good time to look at it again. So this is the Engage Zero from Gundam UC Engage, which is a mobile game that is some sort of weird crossover thing. I'm not very familiar with it. It's not been released in English, and as far as I know, it's not intended to be released in English. I don't think it's going to get a translation later on down the line, so it is what it is. That's unfortunately kind of the case when it comes to most non-animated Gundam works. It's a very unusual design to look at because it's kind of like a mash together of everything. You've got some GPO-1 legs. The kind of shaping and proportions of the waist almost remind me a little bit of the Q-Blade, where you have these really round, curvy pieces. But then you get up to the torso and it kind of feels a bit more like the G-Self. It's a very unusual, very unique looking design that's kind of an amalgamation of the entirety of the Universal Century. The bigger reason I'm not interested in this is because it's very obviously using that like cheapo modern high grade style construction where they use the clip joints for the elbows and for the knees, and I am not about that at all. I've already built plenty of P-Bandai kits that are like that, and I've got more coming, and I don't really need another. If this had a more classic, substantial build, I might be a bit more interested in it, but as it is, nah. It's understandable though in this case. While it is from a current game, it is a really niche design. Like, I don't think a lot of people were really clamoring for a model kit of this. He has some decent accessories, so he's got like the GPO-1 style shield and the rifle, which is what we already saw him with. However, once we saw this set of images, we learned he actually comes with some other cool stuff as well. You can see he actually has this giant thruster booster pack. And I think this was a really good addition for them to give this model, because one of the things that I didn't like about the original release of the high-grade Geminis was not only was it a very simple, basic kit from a construction standpoint, but you also got basically nothing with it, which made it not feel like a very fun or interesting model kit. So I'm definitely glad that they included the thruster pack with this model instead of making it some sort of add-on, because it gives the kit a little bit something more that it can do. Now, it's still probably not going to be worth the P-Bandai prices, and yes, I know P-Bandai's cheaper when you get it directly from the store, but the reason that I don't pre-order a lot of kits on the US P-Bandai shop is just that the base prices for the model plus the shipping are still pretty expensive for what you get a lot of times. If this was a retail kit you could pick up for like $20 or less, I would be all over it, but I'm definitely not interested in paying P-Bandai money for this. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like. This video was recorded from one of my live streams. I usually try to stream around 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 6 or 7 in the evening Eastern Standard Time. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next stream or any future videos I upload, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. I'd like to also extend a thank you to my patrons for helping make this channel possible, and a special thank you to my Master Grade tier patrons like Yank. If you want to join the Patreon yourself, you will gain access to cool features like full archives of past streams and early access to some new videos. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I'm your host Second Soundwave, and I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.